What's up, everybody, and welcome back. Today we're going to be narrowing the 8.8 rear end. We're putting in our 1984 Ford LTD drag and drive build. And when I say narrow, and I don't mean we're narrowing the housing, we're just narrowing it 1.5 inches total. And the reason we're having to do this is because this comes with, I think, a 7.5 rear end in it, and they won't hold the power that the 8.8 will. That's common knowledge. So we've got a 8.8 out of a 98 model Mustang GT, a lot of 8s there. And what we're doing is we're wanting to narrow it to factory Foxbody track width. And to do that, the housings are the same, and what's different is the axles are 3/4 of an inch wider on each side, and that has to do with the disc brakes. I think it's just the disc brakes. I don't think there's a reluctor ring, but I know the disc brakes offset it some more outboard, 3/4 of an inch. So we're putting Foxbody axles in it, and we're going to move the axle brackets inboard of the flange brackets on the outside. I think that's right. But y'all just hang with me. We'll get this thing rolled in here and set up on some jacks and get wheels and tires took off and stripped down, and I'll explain to y'all a little bit more what's going on. All right, so I got it tore down, or got the calipers and the brake pad off, and right here is the difference from the SN to the Foxbody chassis. There's 3/4 of an inch difference right here, and it is for the brakes. If you see this gap in between the caliper, the rotor and the bracket, right here, that's why you have to have. That's why they make them 3/4 inches longer, from my understanding anyways. So this is what we're going to do, is we're going to move this bracket inboard and space it, accordingly. We've got to move it 3/4 of an inch inboard. But I'll get y'all set back up and we'll get this thing tore down. All right, so just my luck, the bolt that retains your center pin is broke. Looks like it's been broke for a really long time too. And I don't know if it broke right at where it reduces down and becomes an actual pin, or if it broke with partial threads on it. Either way, it's going to be aggravating to get out, more than likely. But worst case, what we're going to do is we'll take a grinder on my torch and just cut it here and here, and I'm not saving this carrier. I have a new one, a full spool to go in here, and I'm not going to fight it. All right, so we got everything tore down, and this is where we're at. I'm going to reuse this factory ring gear, and as I mentioned, the bolt that retains the pin that holds the spider gears in was broken, so I ended up just using a hammer to get that out. I just beat it on the opposing side. So we've got that out successfully. And we're putting 35 spline axles in with C-clip eliminators, and in order to do that, you have to cut part of the bearing housing off the rear end housing, and we've already done that. we've got it all cut off, and then we used I just used a flapper disc to clean this up nice. And here is the C-clip eliminators. They come pre-installed if you buy this stuff from LMR. That's the best price I could find. They pre-install the C-clip eliminators, the axle studs, and right here is why we're having to do all this. There's your difference, 3/4 of an inch. And it's all to do with right here, where this is the spacing for the disc brakes. So that's where we're at now, is figuring all this stuff out. So we've got spacers, we've got the brackets, and what we've got to do, as I mentioned earlier, this is how this is from factory, right here, on the outboard of the axle. And we have got to move it inboard 3/4 of an inch so that the Foxbody axle will work with this housing and retain the brakes. So what we're going to do is, more than likely, we have the most material to work with right here. We're going to slot it here and here. That way we can slip it over the axle. And if you see there, the housing is reduced right here. So that'll help us out a lot. We'll be able to slide it over right here. And now we've just got to figure out the spacing. So the thickness right here of this flange, once you subtract this this counter bore right here, is 200 thousandths. So that means we need to go 550 more thousandths inboard. And I've dug through all my spacers that I have, and I have some 1/2 inch to 500 thou, and I need 550. I'm just going to use these because 50 thou is just a very minute amount. I mean, just to show y'all in reference, this is 50 thou. I mean, it's just such a minute amount. That'll get us close enough. In worst case, we'll use a washer. You know, worst case, if calipers do not line up with the rotors, and you know, yada yada. So we're just going to use these, but I only have 4 of them. So what I'm going to do is I have 4 3/4 inch spacers. So what we're going to do is we're going to chuck them up in the lathe. We're going to cut them down 250 thousandths. That'll get us right dead on to 500 thou. And then that should put us dead where we need to be. And everything should bolt up and work just fine. And another thing we might do is we might tack weld them on here, just so we don't have to deal with them falling out and stuff. And if we do end up having to put a washer, we're not battling a washer and a spacer, just a washer. You know, I might be more prone to use a washer, honestly, if I tack weld them in there and get the spacing dead on. But that's where we're at. I'm gonna get these other spacers cut down, and then I'll bring y'all back, and we'll cut this bracket and kind of just go from there. Alright, so we've successfully got the spacers welded on and the brackets notched, and let's see, They fit on there really well. But here's the issue I'm having and what I had to do to fix it. So when I tried to put the axle in here, the little nipple that or the little boss that I left earlier in the video where you cut, let's see what I do with it, where you cut this off, we left a little boss right here. All right, so for what I'm doing, since I'm using the SN95 housing in the Foxbody, I'm not using the Foxbody disc brakes, and I'm putting, you know, as I stated earlier, I'm putting the caliper brackets inboard of the axle. So what I had to do was I had to cut this little boss off, because what that boss is there for is if you have a disc brake or a drum brake backing plate. That is the pilot for that drum brake backing plate. And so I had to get that, I had to cut that off and file it down nice and flat. So I just flap disc it down, or used a flapper disc to get it down. Then I just filed it down flat. So we'll have a good seal right there. Then I run into another dilemma. These studs are a little too short. And what I could do is I could screw them out just a little, thread them out just a little bit of this bearing plate down here, and it would work. But it being aluminum, I'm kind of skeptical of doing that, because you want the full thread engagement. You know, this stuff is engineered, you know, the engineers that done this stuff are a lot smarter than me on this. So they put that much thread engagement for a reason. If it was steel, I would just do 75%. The standard on thread engagement for steel is 75% of the diameter of the bolt. That's why if you notice these nuts are thinner than the diameter of the bolt, because they're steel. But long story short, I do have some grade 8, I think this is 3/8 rod. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut 8 of these, 3/4 of an inch longer than the stud is what I'm trying to get out, guys, sorry. But I'm gonna get that cut down, and then I'll be able to thread that in, and that will fix all our issues, and everything's just gonna fall right together. It's just gonna be golden. But we're gonna get set up, and we're gonna get this cut, and then we'll get the axles installed, and we've still got to put the ring gear. This ring gear, this is a 327 gear, so that's plenty good enough for what I'm gonna be doing. I'm not trying to go like crazy fast right now. I just want it to work good, and like I said, I'm on a budget. So I'm gonna put that 327 gear on this full spool, and then we're just gonna set it back up with the factory shims. I'm hoping the factory shims will set my lash up like it needs to be, and if not, I do have some left over from where I built the 8.8 years ago, and we'll get all that set up correctly. And the last thing we're gonna do after it's all assembled is we're gonna weld these axle tubes in. And I would do it now, and I know it's probably not gonna warp, but I would rather everything be together and have the best chance of not warping. You know what I'm saying? So if that makes any sense at all. All right, so we'll get set up. We'll get this grade 8 rod cut down, and we'll go from there. so since last time I've talked to you, I've been living in pretty much utter defeat. But I've triumphed through it, made it through it. I figured out the solution. Everything's fine now. And but all that stuff in the video earlier, me making the spacers, telling you that you need the 550,000 spacer, whatever I told you, you can just erase that out of your mind completely, because you don't need any of that. I don't need any of those spacers. And you just simply need to flip the brackets and the brakes line up. You don't have to space them out or anything. I mean, I guess technically I've done some measurements earlier, and you could use like a washer that's like 100 thousandths thick, and it would put you dead where it was at factory as far as caliper on the caliper pin placement. But I'm not worried about 100 thousandths. You know, I'm not. I don't plan on running this thing until the pads wear completely out. I'm gonna check it and, you know, service all that stuff accordingly. But let me turn y'all around and show y'all what all this is unfolded to. So, start out with, you seen me earlier, I made spacers. And of course, I didn't tack them on, you know, I just full-blown welded them on. So, had to cut those off, the other bracket. Still got to cut them off this bracket, of course. And then I didn't think that the strange, the studs that come with the strange axles was long enough, because of what I was doing with the spacers and all. You know, by the time that goes through the C-clip eliminator and all, I didn't think it was going to be long enough, and it wasn't. But seeing that you don't need these spacers, those studs that it comes with fit perfect. So me using my last little bit of grade 8 rod, which is no big deal, you know, and making those studs. All you have to do is just notch the brackets. Notch the brackets. I did get that part right. Slide them over the axles, and you know, just you put your C-clip eliminators together. You know, that's all standard. There's videos on how to do that. The studs that Strange sends are plenty long enough, and you just put the brackets, you put the driver's side bracket on the passenger side and the passenger side bracket on the driver's side. You just flip your brackets, and everything just lines up and works honky-dory, you know. As I stated earlier, you could space this bracket out another 100 thou. That would put the caliper 100 thou more, which would give you 100 thou more pin engagement, which you don't really need it. That would just put you exactly where it was at factory. But so, and the long and short of it is to put the SN95 in rear end in the Foxbody and retain the SN95 brakes. You need to cut this boss off flush with the axle flange, the brake flange, and then, like I just stated, you can use the factory brackets. You just got to notch them, driver side on passenger side and passenger on driver. You know, just swap them around, bolt them right up, bolt your brakes up. I mean, everything's good. It's done, it fits, you know, that's all there is to it. So I'll set y'all up on a time lapse, and we'll get the rest of this stuff done and get on with our lives. Maybe get past this little bit of defeat we've dealt with. The good thing about it is this did set right back up where it was at factory. It is a little on the looser side. It's about 14 thou of backlash, and I know you want like 8 to 12, but I mean it's gonna work for now, guys. That's all there is to it. I'm not messing with it. I'm not re-shimming it over 2 thousandths. Yeah, I mean, let me take that back. If it's noisy, I'll go back into it, but you know, if it's not noisy, I'm not messing with it. So, yep, that's it for now. Hopefully, now we can get on with our lives. And it's been 90 degrees all day today, guys. I'm sorry, I'm sweating like I don't know what. It's been terrible. But it's starting to cool off now. Sun's going down. We're getting in the shade a little bit, and everything's just falling right together. So we can get on with it, and hopefully we'll get everything done and get it all closed back up and get it painted today. That was kind of my goal, and if we can get that done, then it's a successful day. All right, everybody, we got it done in all its glory. Looks good, turned out good, and you know, they say nothing good comes easy, so I have no doubt this is going to be the best rear differential I ever owned in my life, just for the fact that it no doubt didn't come easy. But let me turn y'all around and I'll show y'all what we got. All right, so I went ahead and cut these factory, it's like the struts that run laterally. I don't know what they are, shocks that run laterally. That's a hard word to say. Got those cut off, the brackets cut off and everything. Went ahead and welded the axle tubes up. Put the solid bushings in, spherical bushings. And other than the huge chunk missing out of our brake caliper bracket, it you can't even tell it's not factory, man. I mean, it looks good. You know, this was a budget-ish build. This strange kit, you know, shipping, tax and all is a touch over $700. I still haven't, you know, I still got to replace the ring and pinion at some point, but I don't, you know, that it's gonna have to prove itself that it needs to be replaced. You know, it's just, I didn't want to, the main reason I've done this whole kit is because I didn't want to break a C-clip, and the axle come just sliding right out on the track, and then you get to, you know, get put on the tow truck and be the guy that everybody talks about that day, which I'm fine with that, but, you know, I'd rather it not happen. And as we all would rather something like that not happen to us. But now I've got to get the shop cleaned up. I don't know if it's just me, but anytime I just do a little project, it just turns into, it just seems like a bomb goes off in here. And I mean, you'd think building this rear end would take just a few hand tools and, you know, welder, grinder. You just have it, you know, it'd be done. But no, you end up having to need torches and, I mean, lathes and just, I mean, all kind of stuff to get these bushings out. And that's another thing I want to revisit or tell you about. Putting these spherical bushings in, that tool's like 35 bucks. Just buy it. Don't cheap out. Do yourself a favor and just buy the tool. I wish I would have. I mean, I probably wasted more than $35 worth of washers, just to be honest with you. But thank y'all for tuning in, and don't forget to check out the next video, because we will be putting in all our UPR stuff, UPR Pro Series. We'll have the upper and lower control arms, the anti-roll bar, and then we'll get this baby bolted up under here. And we will once again have a roller. And I hope and pray in Jesus' name that this is pretty much the brunt of the heavy fabrication done, because it's just not been, it's been fun. I'm not trying to detour anybody. It's been fun. It's been a great project. But we'll get her bolted up under here and we'll be good, guys. Like I said, we'll have a roller again. We'll be one step closer to going down the track. I appreciate y'all watching. Stay tuned in for the next one. Once again, have a good one.